Welcome everybody to the Casual Football Friend Show. You're having a sip? You're having a sip? How professional is that? You're starting off with a sip.
I live life on the edge. That's what I do. I play by my own rules.
I was going to say, well, I'm Zane, and you are...
I'm Tharun.
And you're Tharun. And I'm just finding that out for the first time. And we are the Casual Football Friends. And, a little bit of stuff has been happening since the last time we had an episode come out. We had a whole Premier League game week, as well as some Champions League / Carabao Cup fixtures. So
there's a lot to get through. We'll do the highlights.
We'll do the highlights.
So much to get through.
Yeah, we'll do the highlights. I think, you know what, this is a good time to catch up on what the fuck was that? Was that your cough?
Yes, cough / choking right there.
That sounded like you started giggling. What?
I mean, it's not bad. All I'm doing is drinking squash.
So even your cuffs sound like they're trying to make people laugh. What the Be like, quick, this man is dying. He keeps laughing. Yeah, but he's dying. Yeah, so how was the Leicester versus Walsall game yesterday?
Oh, we're going straight into that, are we?
I think it's a good place to start, because I feel like it's, much like Leicester, we should have a slow start to the episode. And
well, for those of you who don't know, we had basically me and you had two very different evenings, because you were watching Lincoln Park.
I went to go see Lincoln Park at the O2 in London.
Meanwhile, I was watching Leicester versus Walsall in the Carabao Cup, and we both had two very different evenings. You obviously had a very fun evening.
Mm-hmm.
I was very annoyed throughout the whole thing, and I'm annoyed that you're bringing it up now, because it's we're not even 10 minutes in, and I really want to swear about this game. It was you know what? Okay, let's get the positives out.
Okay.
The positives. There's not many.
Okay.
Let's get them out of the way. Second half, Fatawu was great. He was running down the right-hand side, and he was bringing it. He was making some good chances. He was being very creative. That was good. Benanate throughout the game was good, and then Cooper took him off in the 80th minute, and the creativity just disappeared. Cooper in all his finery there. Okay, so that's the positives.
That's two things.
Now,
that's not
the negatives. It was Leicester had 75% possession.
As you'd expect. It's against Walsall, so you'd expect that, yeah.
Yeah, and they had 2 shots on target. Just let that sink in.
So what?
Walsall are in League 2. I mean, yes, granted, Leicester haven't had the best starts this season, but we are a Premier League side.
Yeah.
Walsall are in League 2. And we had 75% possession and 2 shots on goal.
It's funny because, people might be wondering why you're being so animated about this, but it's because you had to watch the whole thing. That's probably...
If I didn't watch it and then I just saw the result, I'd be like, it's a bit crap.
Like how I feel. Yeah, I think having to have wasted an evening watching it is making you a lot bitter.
I thought, you know what, Leicester versus Walsall, watch it, get a few goals in there. Granted, we weren't going to play our first team.
No.
I mean, Vardy wasn't even brought on. He was on the bench, but he wasn't even brought on. So I thought, you know what? Yeah, it'd be a nice little game. We'll bang in 2-3 goals, maybe 4. But it'll be a bit scrappy. But yeah, at least we'll get a decent result out of it. At least I'll have something to cheer about. But it was just the whole. There was moments where Walsall looked like they were more threatening up front. There was moments where I don't even know. Okoli, and Connor Cody they were good to an extent, but then Chowdhury, he might as well not even started.
Right.
I mean, Chowdhury, throughout the whole game, he just seemed disinterested, and he was just giving the ball away so easily. And it's not like there was moments where Walsall were pressing us, but not those were spurts that they did that. And we were just the passing around and then just deeply giving the ball away. And the fact that it went to penalties is actually embarrassing. And then and it was and Ward saved 3 penalties against Walsall, and then I know how like some of them on social media trying to spin it that he's like a hero. Look, it was against Walsall. It ain't anything to celebrate. The fact that it went to penalties, we shouldn't be celebrating any of that.
No, don't make any clips. Don't just pretend it didn't happen. Don't make clips and put it on social media and be like, the penalty save hero. No heroes. No heroes.
No, there's no heroes in. As soon as the game ended, I just switched it off. Right. I was like, I'm done. I can't watch this anymore.
Obviously, because the game had finished.
But I was like, I don't want to sit there and just think about this. And it was so frustrating because I like to think we are a half decent side and we can beat a League 2 team. And it's just...
I've done...
We would string 3 passes together. But then after that, we ran out of ideas so quickly. It's like we were playing against Walsall. Walsall were just sitting back for the most of the game, which we expected that to happen. But we were playing their defence like we were playing against Arsenal's defence. And it was just like, how are we going to break these guys down? It's just like, I just couldn't get my head around it. And it was just, I feel bad for the fans who travelled to go see it.
It's not that far in their defence. Like, it could have been worse.
But it's still, you've got to make the trip there. And it's just, you know what, I was, at the end of it, I thought, we were playing for a draw in the Carabao Cup against Walsall. And I thought, when we went to watch the Tranmere game.
Yeah.
And we beat them 4-0. We thought, okay, this is good because it's like a little tune-up game, a little confidence booster. There's no confidence to take from that display. There's nothing to take from it. And so, who we got this weekend? Arsenal. I mean, it's just... I'm already going to write off this Saturday because from what I've seen so far, and this is actually, on a more serious note, this has actually been the... this is basically... Yesterday kind of summarised how Leicester have been all season so far. It kind of summarised it, that there's just no fight. There's no desire to actually get the ball up there and actually score goals. The only one who does that is really Vardy when he comes on, and Steffi, and then Fatawu, but he's not getting as much gameplay as he did last season. And it's just, and Benanate he's actually class what he can do. It's just he hasn't got the quality around him to help him get the ball up there. So it was just so frustrating. And what's his name? Someone made their debut. Is it Eduardo? I think he made his first start for Leicester yesterday.
Eduardo.
I think it's Eduardo.
Eduardo. I don't know who you're talking about.
Is there an Eduardo?
I don't think there is. Who's Eduardo?
Edit this out if I get it wrong. Just look who was starting Leicester.
Alcanuce made his debut on the weekend. Eduardo.
Edward.
Edward. Oh, Addison Edward. Yeah.
Edward.
Yeah.
I was saying Eduardo.
I know.
I'm Eduardo who played for Arsenal back in the day.
Gave him a little bit of flair there.
Edward. Edward made his first start for Leicester yesterday. There was nothing good from his performance. He's meant to be an attacker we brought in. And I'm not seeing anything from that game. Yeah, granted, again, it's a Carabao Cup game against Walsall. But this is an opportunity for players who aren't making the starting lineup to really show to Steve Cooper, I should be in that starting team. Yeah. These are your opportunities to do it. And not one player was doing that. The only players that were doing it were players who already feature in the starting team anyway. So it's just like, it was pretty shocking to watch. And then I see the Carabao Cup results today. I mean, Arsenal battered Bolton 5-1.
Yeah.
Bolton are in League One. That's what you do to a team that is 2 divisions below you. That is what you do to them. And then Liverpool battered West Ham 5-1, which is insane. Yeah. But again, it's Carabao Cup, so no one's going to put out their strongest sides. But it's just it was a frustrating watch, and it's just there's moments I actually felt a little bit embarrassed. There's moments I felt embarrassed to watch Leicester, and it's just it was a frustrating evening.
You definitely got that point across in the last, I think 10 minutes that you've been ranting. So.
Mate, you know what? I can't with this. It's just, and then I was always like, a lot of people already saying Steve Cooper out. I was saying, I was always the one saying, let's see where we are at Christmas.
Yeah.
see where we're at Christmas, and if it's time to kick him out, then fine. But if we're in a comfortable position, then okay, that's fine. Then let's keep him on until the end of the season. But I'm starting to now think he's not up to it. He's not up to it.
It's still very early days. So,
it's still early days, and I think if we get battered against Arsenal, we can't really take much from that because that is Arsenal. But if we think back now to the Premier League results against Everton, a team that we should be trying to get 3 points against. Again, the same mistakes were happening. I mean, we could use the excuse it was raining. So that everyone was sliding around everywhere.
Yeah, but if it was raining for us, it was also raining for Everton. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
It's not like it only affects one team.
Yeah, those Leicester players are not used to the rain. But again, it was just another example where we were just giving away the ball so cheaply. That's been one of our many errors this season. Is just cheaply giving the ball away without the opposition really pressing us.
Yeah.
So it's just. It's disappointing. I was disappointed with yesterday, and I was disappointed on Saturday as well.
The Walsall game, there is that, obviously because I didn't watch it, I only saw the highlights. One funny thing that just stuck out to me in the highlights was if you watch the highlights on Leicester's YouTube channel, the second half has one highlight.
Exactly, that says it all, doesn't it?
So when I was catching up on it earlier, because obviously I do my research for this show, obviously.
Of course.
I was watching it and I was pissing myself because it was literally one highlight of Fatou heading it to the keeper, and then it went, okay, now penalties. I'm like, nothing happened second half.
And that literally sums it all up. Second half. It was just I should have been here on this podcast saying, oh, that second half, we were banging in loads of goals. Oh, it was great. Benarate was shooting from outside the box. Oh, Fatou was, even Curly scored a goal. It was amazing. But no, I can't say any of that because there was just no desire yesterday.
Everybody, here's the thing, like, when it comes to playing in the Carabao Cup, when it comes to playing against lower league teams, is everyone has bad results, once in a while, but you want to see the performance you want to see conviction of performance. And I think with Leicester this season, there's not really been any conviction.
No, there's been none.
And
if we were to say lose, but yet we were just bossing the game and we were unlucky, you could take something from that.
Yeah. Like a smash and grab from a lower league team or just a smaller team is quite common. Like, it does happen, and it can happen. But when you're a Premier League team and you're getting not exactly dominated, but when it's just a bit too uncomfortable, and you don't really show that you have any conviction to see the game out, and I think professionalism kind of comes into question in that kind of situation, because it's easy to be like, it's just a lower league team, it's just a Carabao Cup fixture, but I feel like for these, as you said, like for these players, the ones who are not really normally playing, that's kind of your audition.
Yeah, you have to now showcase yourself and say, look at Chowdhury, for example. Chowdhury won the FA Cup with Leicester. A few seasons ago, he featured quite common in the Leicester City starting lineup.
He was relatively common last season as well. Like, he was quite an important fixture. He wasn't obviously a starter for most games, but he was quite an important fixture throughout the season last season in getting us back up. And he played sort of like that inverted right back position when Ricardo Pereira wasn't available, and was pretty reliable. And there was that specific game against, was it either West Brom and Norwich at the very end of last season, where he made a bunch of amazing sort of last-ditch tackles and clearances, and everyone was like, wow, Chowdhury basically won us the game. I just think he
seems disinterested.
I don't know, but because that kind of implies that he doesn't care, and I know, like, as a Leicester local, he probably does.
He does care. Yeah, I can imagine he cares, but the thing is, I think the situation with Chowdhury at the moment is just
he's not going to get a game. No,
he's not getting played enough, and he's just. I think that started to take its toll on him. I mean, we saw him against Tranmere, and even then he seemed a little bit
off it.
He seemed a bit off.
But I'd argue, like, there is an argument to say that if you're never really playing, then you're never really going to get match fit.
Yeah,
But
you'll be out of form.
you'd be out of form. But I guess when you're playing against lower league teams, like not if you're playing a championship team and that happened to you, it's kind of like fair enough. I'd argue in some regards, like our team is still a championship team, but in when you're playing against like a League Two team, yeah, you shouldn't really be having too much issue. And
No.
he's proven himself to be, at least at the very least, a very dependable championship player. So maybe it is just like a crisis of confidence because
Yeah.
he kind of went from being like I'm going to play you to, oh, you're probably not going to get a look in, because now Skip's there, and Skip does a very similar sort of position in centre mid. And in terms of right back, Ricardo isn't getting in, and if Ricardo's not really getting in, then how is he going to play there?
Exactly, and I still remember a few seasons ago when Leicester was in the Premier League again, and when we actually had a decent side, and then when Chowdhury scored a screamer against Newcastle when we beat them 3-0, I think it was at St James's Park. I still remember that. Like that was Chowdhury. Like, yeah, this guy's class. He's there. And he was in the FA Cup final when we beat Chelsea. He was a vital player for us. And well, maybe I don't know. Maybe under Steve Cooper, he doesn't know how to utilise Chowdhury. Doesn't know how to feature him. Yeah, like you said, he's brought Skip in now, and Ricardo. To be fair, Ricardo played all right yesterday. He played okay, but it's just I think Chowdhury. Where do you bring him back in? Do you bring him on as a sub now?
I don't know how he gets a look. How does he get a look back in? Because you've got Skip and Didi and Winks, who can all play that deep position, and as in like in the double pivot. And I mean, to the point where we're playing Skip and Winks and then Ndidi a bit further forward, and then in front of them is like Elkanous and Buonanotte, and again at right back is Justin and Pereira. So where does he come back in? I honestly think maybe he'll be going in January, by the way things are going.
And it's going to be a shame if he does, because he's been with the club for so long now, and he's been vital.
Yeah,
it's Leicester local, but you can understand it at the same time. It's not fair on him if he wants to play. Maybe he would be better suited in another team. I mean, last season when we had basically an exodus of players leave, he really shone because he was like, okay, now it's my time to show what I can do, and Enzo was actually able to get the best out of him at times.
Yeah.
But Cooper just can't even get him on there.
Yeah, because he's a lot more rigid in the way like positions are, and everybody has to sort of stick to where they're actually meant to be playing. Whereas Enzo, the football was a lot more fluid. Not to say that would be more successful in the Premier League. It's just that it was different. And sometimes players, they fit really well in one system and they don't fit at all in another system. I mean, to be honest, Chowdhury didn't really fit in like towards the end of Rodgers' spell. Chowdhury wasn't.
Yeah, he wasn't featuring that much.
He wasn't. He was on loan at Watford for a season at one point, so he wasn't really playing that much either. I think. I don't know. I think honestly, I think for his own, because I really like him. Like as a player, I really like him. I like his spirit. I like his commitment and like the kind of player he is. He's a tenacious player. I hope for his sake he gets a resolution to this. And I think he can develop into quite a decent Premier League player. Like a really dependable player. It would just need regular game time, and if that's not at Leicester, then I hope he finds it somewhere.
Yeah, then it would be like we both said, it would be sad for him to go, but it is probably best for him if he does. If Cooper cannot find anywhere for him in this system, but then now we have to bring into question Cooper's system, and I didn't want to come to the point to talk about that so early in the season. But I mean, what's your thoughts on so far from what we've seen under Cooper's regime?
I think it is still, the kinks are still being worked out. Do you know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of like season 1 under Pearson in the Premier League, where it just wasn't really, the fight was there to an extent, so there was enough to give me hope. But once we went through a little bit of like a purple patch at the very, very beginning of that season. And everyone was like, wow, we're cut out to be a Premier League team. And then it just went to shit for a really, really long time. And I feel like with this team, we're kind of starting off slowly. And the gelling still needs to happen to an extent. I think, to be honest, I think we're very lucky that there are 6 altogether 6 winless teams in the Premier League, and we're one of 6. I think it's very lucky because, you know, you don't want to be in the relegation places already at this point. But
No.
it's I think it's good for us because it gives us a little bit of time to work out, you know, the kinks to the Premier League and to try and bed in a sort of system that works. I don't think it's right yet to judge Cooper himself. I think it's okay to be you know, the substitutions he made was bad and the changes he made in that scenario were bad. But I feel like right now it's still not really enough time to say like the Cooper system works or the Cooper system doesn't work, like categorically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the glaring difference I feel between Pearson's first season in the Premier League compared to Cooper's was we were still playing well. Like, there was times where we wouldn't get the results, but we still played well. And it was just like, okay, we didn't, you know, there's the odd game, it's Leicester, isn't it? There's always going to be the odd few games where we play absolutely shit.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, but there was still like something there. Here, however, it's just, we've been lucky where certain results have gone in other games have been in our favour so far.
Yeah.
But you can't rely on that.
No.
You know, and that's where the Everton game is so, and then again, frustrating because if we'd won that game,
it would have done us a lot of favours. It would have done Cooper a lot of favours, to be honest. I think that
definitely.
Everton game, like I was telling you at the time, like I was so desperate for us to win that because I think it sends out a bit of a message. And not to other teams necessarily, but to our own players and to our to have a little bit of belief in themselves. And I think what ended up happening against Everton, where we ended up going 1 down and had to chase the game, I feel like that kind of put them back in their place a bit more, and that's not good for overall team morale. It's not good for the style, for the confidence in the team. I think confidence in this team is, you know, you get the impression the confidence is a little bit low sometimes because the way that, as you said, they're not really being adventurous enough in the way they're attacking. That only comes when when there is confidence instilled within the team. And I think the way it is at the moment, I don't know, we're probably going to see a bit more sort of hesitant football and pragmatic.
Which you can't do in the Premier League.
No.
You know, if we play hesitant football against Arsenal, we're going to get blasted. I mean, we're going to the Emirates to play Arsenal. Our expectations aren't going to be high.
No,
but we want to see something from them.
You want to see in those kinds of games. You just don't want to see your team get absolutely battered.
No,
but I don't know, man. Like especially watching Arsenal play City the other day, and obviously,
that's a great game.
Great game. But it's watching them play City in that first half. You know, when it was still 11 versus 11, and I'm like, you know, just every set piece they look like a threat. And I was thinking to myself, if they're doing this to City in the way they basically nearly scored from like every corner, they score every corner against us.
And they were unlucky that, well, I say unlucky, but they went down to 10 men, so they played the whole second half with 10 men.
Yeah.
And they managed to hold that lead as long as they could.
Yeah.
And City had quite a job trying to break down that defence. But Arsenal's defence is incredible. Yeah. You know, trying to break them down is, you know, only City can do it, but City, even they had a tough job doing it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, you know, ultimately, City, and I know they'll spin it to be like a positive result because they were losing for so long, but I think ultimately, you know, when you're not beating your rivals at home, you'd feel like that's 2 points dropped.
Oh yeah, it's
especially against 10 men. Especially against 10 men.
Yeah, against 10 men. Yeah, I mean, it's a difficult one to say who really lost the most in that game. It's because it's Man City were at home against Arsenal, and they did drop 2 points, but then Arsenal were winning through most of that game, but then they were down to 10 men. So it's like, it's quite hard to really say who lost and who gained on that.
It's like the equilibrium of who dropped the points. They kind of both did. They kind of both will see it as a bit of a missed opportunity, because I think Man City, if they convincingly beat Arsenal on Sunday, they would have, you know, that's a good way to put your rivals back in their place.
And it was so weird to see, because like watching Leicester versus Everton, it was basically watching two spectrums of the Premier League. So Leicester versus Everton, you've got two teams who are hesitant to move forward, hesitant to leave gaps, don't really want to be too adventurous. I'm happy to grind out a 1-0 win and just park the bus.
Yeah.
You know, it's just that it was just that was a frustrating watch. And then watching Man City Arsenal, it's just you're watching that. This is a whole other level.
Night and day.
These guys, it's like this is like, and it was end to end. Like the first half was brilliant, Man City Arsenal. The second half was a bit different because Arsenal had to defend through most of it.
Yeah.
But if Arsenal had 11 players still, I think they might have pulled it off.
I think they would have won.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to say. It's hard to say because again, then you could say like, oh, well, then they'd be a bit more open because they wouldn't just be defending, and it's very difficult to say, but you never know. At the end of the day, you never know.
I mean, one thing we learned from it: Haaland is a prick. That's one thing we learned.
I don't feel like we needed to learn that. I think we all kind of already guessed.
Knew it, but he really showed it.
But at the same time, I don't know. Like, it's exactly what you want to see. It's what we were talking about a while ago. It's like you want to see the bite in these games, and you want to see like people getting up in each other's faces, and you want to see somebody getting, being like, yeah, take that, you twat, and throwing the ball at the other guy as he's celebrating. I love that. I think it's great.
And getting no punishment for it.
And no getting no, yeah, because fuck it, let them do it.
Yeah.
Let them start fights. It's so much fun. It's like it's like the original Godzilla, the one from 2014, not the original, but the first of the remake. You know when the guy's just like, what should we do about the Godzilla? And he's like, just let them fight. Like let them fight. Like that's my approach to football when it comes to fights. Just let them fight. Let them get all the anger out. It's so much fun for all of us.
It's good because there's more spirit now. It is, and Arsenal Man City is a rivalry now. It's and let's be honest, for many seasons it wasn't.
No.
Throughout even our childhood, Arsenal Man City was never a rivalry.
Well, no, because it's gone a full 180, hasn't it? Because Arsenal versus Man City when we were younger, up until when I was into my teens, Arsenal were by far the better team. They were the only. There was no rivalry whatsoever, and then it flipped on its head, where Arsenal basically didn't win anything major for quite a while.
Yeah.
Man City started gobbling up all the trophies, and Arsenal were kind of like the laughing stock for a while. And now, here we go.
Well,
two teams up.
Yeah.
They're
the only team really that can challenge Man City this season. But
I mean, Liverpool will stake a claim. I think it's still very early days, though. This is the problem. It's like we're gonna make sweeping declarations that are gonna blow up in our faces. Like watch how a team that we're like, oh wow, they're playing so good, they're gonna get relegated. Like it always happens.
I mean, I always feel like when it comes about Christmas time, that's when you can really see how the league's gonna pan out.
Christmas is the most decisive month of the Premier League outside of like the final month. Because Christmas time is like, if you're top at Christmas, you kind of know you're going to be in the title race. Yeah. Yeah. That's it.
I mean, and if you're like mid-table, you will most likely be safe. If you're in the relegation zone, for the rest of the season, you've got to fight.
You got to fight your ass off, yeah. Being bottom at Christmas is always an omen. Being mid-table at Christmas, I don't think it means anything. It literally just like... You got to just do the maths and go, well, maybe we can make a push for Europe, or maybe maybe we just want to be safe, but
just coast it out.
Let's coast it out. I'm not gonna lie though, like I was thinking about this, how before Leicester got promoted the first time, or when we did the first Great Escape, right? I was thinking to myself, I would do anything for us to become like one of those teams that are just safe every year, and definitely. It escalated so much more to the point where I started thinking, oh man, like how did we miss out on fourth again? And now I'm like, God, I would do anything to just be a coasting team.
I know.
I'd do anything.
It's so weird. Like a few seasons ago, literally like 3-4 seasons ago, we're like, oh my God, we missed out on Champions League football again. Yeah. Oh my God. Oh, we've got to do Europa League again. Yeah. And now we're like, I just want us to stay mid-table. I just want to stay up now. I mean, I long for us to be a Fulham. Yeah, I long for that now. Yeah, and Fulham literally 2 seasons ago would have longed to be us. It's crazy how quickly things can turn in football. I mean, as long as we've been like friends, Leicester have been, I swear, we've gone from like me and you being friends, there's like correlation between
us becoming friends and Leicester going downhill. Like, to be fair,
Hey, we need to fall out with each other.
Yeah.
And Leicester will do all right.
because we became like friends 2021ish. Well, like I started
Yeah.
when I started doing comedy, and you. Yeah, like we were really decent back then, and then it's just gone downhill since. So,
We've
yeah,
been relegated, but we got promoted as well. And now we're just like going through all this shit again. It's just, well, it happens.
It
You know,
happens.
look, we'll see what happens after this weekend.
Let's see what other fixtures did we want to talk about. So, how did your fantasy team do last weekend? Because mine,
Abysmal.
yeah, I got 1 point less than the average. So the average was 58. I got 57. The only player, so I got 2 players to get double digits. Was Haaland and Trent, and Haaland was my captain, so he got 18 altogether. But
Yeah.
it was a pretty poor showing. But it looks like it was kind of like a poor showing all around from everybody. I don't know, how did you do?
I did shocking.
How did-
I think I got 45 points.
Okay,
It was so
even-
bad.
even worse.
It was probably my worst weekend.
Right, yeah.
That's what it probably was.
I'm still top of most of my leagues, which just shows like the level of competition I'm of. But it's not great. I think most people kind of fell into the trap of like, this team will win and this team will win. But I think let's see, what else can we talk about? So obviously we had City versus Arsenal. Forest got another pretty good result. They drew at Brighton, which is
That's good. You know, Forest are doing all right this season.
Yeah,
Annoyingly.
they really
But
are.
they're doing all right.
Yeah. Chelsea won away at West Ham, which, to be honest, would seem surprising, but then West Ham haven't had the best start to the season.
No.
Liverpool won 3-0 against Bournemouth. Palace 2-0 with Man United. You know, Palace drawing 0-0 with Man United feels like it was a really, really long time ago to me. And it was literally just on Saturday, but like ever since, basically my life is now divided into like pre-Linkin Park at the O2 and post-Linkin Park at the O2. And all
Your
of that
life
was
before and after.
Exactly, my life was before and after. Yeah, to be honest, there's not much like to write home about the last Premier League weekend,
Yeah, I mean,
game week.
there's no shocking results.
No.
There's nothing major. I mean, if you're a West Ham fan, you'll be very upset because you lost 3-0 at home to Chelsea. So
Yeah.
you'll be very upset at that. But we had like a little London derby. We had a Midlands derby. We had Aston Villa versus Wolves, and Villa won 3-1.
Aston Villa.
Aston Villa. Sorry, Aston Villa won 3-1, which was to be expected.
Yeah.
Wolves have been pretty bad so far this season. They've not
Yeah.
really started, and Aston Villa. We've already talked about that.
Yeah.
We need to start. They are a class team, and they are, a top team now.
We've, to be honest, like, do you feel like we're at this point now with the early weeks of the season where we've talked certain points to death? So it's like, yeah, Villa are good. Well, like, Aston Villa are good. Yeah, what do you want from us? Like,
Thing is, Aston Villa now, I'm starting to become a bit of an Aston Villa glory boy now, because I'm like, no, hear me out. Look, we're from the Midlands. And our Midlands club ain't doing that great. So I need to leech off someone.
No.
And the only one I can think of is Aston Villa.
No, absolutely not. Terrible.
I've gigged in Birmingham so many times.
Terrible.
I
want to go wash my mouth out after hearing you say that. How can you say that? You can't say that about any other English team. It's like, it has to be your one team in England.
I know, but my one team is pissing me off.
Yeah, well, they're still a Premier League team, so you can't have
just about.
Yeah, no, but you can't like latch on to any other Premier League team at the very least. I understand if you're like if you're Walsall and you start supporting them.
Walsall.
Yeah, they're the most prescient example I can think of. But yeah.
We're looking at the table shaping up at the moment. I mean, Man City are top, Liverpool second, Aston Villa third, Arsenal fourth. That doesn't surprise me that that's the top four so far. Obviously, that's probably going to change a little bit as the season goes on.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised if that top four kind of remains there as the season goes. I can see some positions changing.
Yeah. But if that was the top four,
maybe Liverpool drop to third, Aston Villa will go to fourth, Arsenal second. I can see positions changing. I can't really see even the top five. Maybe I can see Chelsea dropping off, but that top four, I can't really see much changing there.
It is kind of shaping up to what people expected already,
Yeah.
which is worrying. I think it's not a good thing when the Premier League becomes a bit too predictable.
Yeah, you want that kind of excitement, and still, and also from my childhood, I've got to say, like looking at Man United sitting at 11th makes me chuckle.
But United being 11th is kind of par for course in these last few years. But I don't know, man. I feel like this table is a bit too predictable.
It is, and Forest sitting at 8th.
Yeah, that's the main outlier I can kind of see here. Forest sitting at 8th is quite an out there one. I'd still say United sitting 11th. I mean, again, it's only 5 games gone, and to be very honest, like I was watching that Man United versus Crystal Palace game, and they should have won. Like they had the chances to win, and I think that has kind of been after just watching the FC20 versus Man United game, I feel like their biggest issue is just converting chances because they're actually playing. It's generally kind of like frustrating watching it because you're watching it going, can nobody finish? Can you just get at the end of this, please? Like,
the drew against Clancy. Yeah, it's just, they seem to struggle up front. Man United do. Like, they play well. It's not like they're crap. They play good football.
Weird though, because in the last few seasons, last season it was like playing badly and not getting results, and this season they're actually playing all right, like pretty good stuff. But it's just not getting results, and
just can't get the result.
Yeah, it's you gotta have the main man up front who's still able to take chances, and I think Højlund being injured for the start of the season has really not helped them. And
it has affected them.
Yeah, it's really affected them, and Xerxes being like a brand new to the league and also not being like an out and out number 9.
Yeah,
he's it's also he brings a different element of quality to that sort of starting lineup, but it's not the 20 goals a season striker that you expect that's going to get at the end of all these chances. Yeah, man, it's a very interesting. I think it's still quite an interesting team, like in transition.
Yeah,
in sense of like I feel like they're not the same United of last season where it looks like they're kind of hopeless. I feel like there's actually I'm watching it. I think we talked about this a few weeks ago. Like watching the first 2 games of the season, watching the last game, I'm the Crystal Palace one. I'm still convinced that there's something there.
Yeah, I think Man United, I think they're a better squad this season than they were last season. I think on paper they're a better squad. It's just they're not getting the results that they need. But like we keep saying, it's still early in the season, and as the season progresses, they will start getting those results.
I think
they come to the King Power Stadium, but it's like they'll start getting those results and everything. But I mean, like Solanke finally scored for Tottenham.
Yeah, but did you see the goal? It can happen. Yeah, I mean, but did you see the goal? It was a tap in basically.
Yeah, you know what? A goal's a goal at the end of the
day. Yeah, you got to get yourself in the position. I think you take credit in that sense, but
now Tottenham have got that win where now they can be like, okay, now we can press on. Leicester needs that win, so then we can be like, now we can press on.
Yeah,
and
I was desperate for the Everton game to be, because that was like that could have been the opportunity.
If we got that win, we'd have probably been sitting at what? Well, we wouldn't have moved up that much. We would have been like 13th.
No, it wouldn't. 14th. It would have made more of a difference in like mentality wise, and I think that's what's key for a team that's just been promoted is the belief that you can actually win. Okay, good. You know what's a really good example? Southampton, right? So Southampton drew in the last minute. They conceded. They were going to win their first game of the season, and then conceded in the last minute. And I think that kind of result just knocks the stuffing out of the belief out of a new team in the Premier League, because it's like, what do we have to do to fucking win?
Well, it takes me back to when Leicester was in the Premier League many, many years ago under Mickey Adams, when we would be playing against Middlesbrough, teams like that, and we'd be 3-1 up, and then we'd concede 2 goals in the last minute, in the last 5 minutes.
Wasn't there a stat that if games finished at 80 minutes, Leicester would have been in the top 5 or 6 or something? It was kind of crazy. It was just stupid.
And those are situations what do we have to do to get a win?
Yeah, and that's what you want to avoid. As a new promoted team, as a team that admittedly you're probably going to be fighting relegation. That is the last thing you need. You need to get a win here and there to just keep the belief up. So like Luton last season, like they still got relegated, right? But there was always that feeling like they might pull off a result, and that feeling comes from winning the odd game here and there. If they did what we're doing, which is just drawing or losing, then you're not going to go in thinking, oh well, they might. No, you're just going to be like, well, they're just the walkover team. There's not really much of a chance here, and the fans go in with that belief too. I mean, the fact that some fans are already turning on Steve Cooper is kind of emphasizes that to me, because it's like it's so easy, like 5 games in and people are already like losing belief, which whilst I don't personally agree with, I think it says something.
I think it's a couple of things. It's number one, it's the results, but also it's the style of play. It's just, from what we've seen from Leicester, from when we see them play, we haven't seen any desire. We haven't seen any actual. We haven't seen anything that's made us think, oh, that was class, or seen anything that's like, oh, that was a great bit of skill there. But
there's patches though. Like I think the
patches, but it's not enough.
Like first half against Palace, I thought was good. Second half against Spurs.
Second half against Spurs, Leicester was great.
Yeah.
First half. Terrible. It was like, why did we even bother turning up?
Yeah.
But it's like...
Finding the balance.
But it's just... I still think we've got the squad to stay up. We just need to be... The tactics need sorting out. And I think... We keep coming back to Leicester, but I think Steve Cooper... One thing I started to notice with him... He does his subs quite late. He makes changes quite late in the game.
Yeah, you were saying the Everton game, we brought Fatou on with like 3 minutes to go, and it's like that's arguably our best player, the most dangerous player.
And I think it was the 80th minute. He took off Steffi and he brought on Fatou.
No, but 80, like it wasn't even 80th. It was like 87th or something.
Like 80 something. Yeah, and it was like, well, what do you expect him to do?
No,
you brought him on. If you were going to make that change, you should have really made that, the 70th minute?
Yeah.
And then give Fatou a chance to actually get into the game and actually create something. And it's like, he's just like thinking, what do I do? Fatou, you go on. And it's like, no, but what's the tactic here? What's the game plan?
Barely enough time to warm up, really.
And the thing it was weird though, because Steffi was actually playing pretty good.
I don't know
Steffi was actually creating quite a bit.
Was it Steffi who went off for him, or was it Ayew?
I think it was Steffi.
I'll just double check, because I thought it was he came on the other wing, but
I might be getting that wrong.
It was. Oh no! Yeah. Steffi went off at the 90th.
Steffi, I thought it was Steffi. Yeah, he took Steffi off, and Steffi was actually being quite creative. Steffi down that left wing is pretty solid.
Yeah, and he's our top scorer. Like.
And then takes Steffi off, brings on Fatou, who's also a very creative player. But then you bring him on with like hardly any time for him to do anything. Yeah,
and that's my issue with that is like a player doesn't have enough real time to warm up in that sense, because you got to get a footing in the game, and you got to acclimatise to the game, the pace of the game. And someone like Fatou, you kind of want him to be on the ball and driving at people with like at least 10 minutes to go against tired legs. I think he can do a lot of damage. But you're bringing him on with 3 minutes to go. I don't think you're giving a guy much of a chance. And he's such a good player. It's really frustrating to see that.
And that's been the comment. I think that's what we've started to notice with Leicester is with Steve Cooper is his subs, his changes. He waits too late. It's like when everyone was moaning about England and Southgate, that Southgate waits too late to make a change. And it's Steve Cooper is kind of doing the same thing. He's waiting too long to make any changes, and it's starting to affect us.
I'm just looking at the game from yesterday. So the changes came at 69, 79, 80, 80. So even though it's the League Cup, it's kind of similar to what you're saying. I mean,
it's a similar situation.
Sort of similar, yeah. Like 3 players coming on after the 80th minute is a bit ridiculous.
It's like, well, what are you trying to do with that? It's just, are you bringing them on because you're expecting penalties? What are you doing on that?
Change the keeper.
Leicester aren't in a position where we can just like grind out, where we can just settle for a draw. We need to go for a few wins and actually get ourselves in a comfortable position where we can start settling for a draw.
That's what it's not upset. That's what kind of disappointed me most about Everton is that we got the equaliser at like 70, and I thought to myself, okay, now go for the jugular. and
let's press on now.
got to press on and get the win, and this will mean a lot to us. And the fact that we weren't able to manage that, I think, it does kind of dishearten you quite a bit, because it makes you feel like, okay, when you have the momentum and you're still not able to capitalize, like, when are you going to be able to win?
Yeah, it was just another one of those days, and look, if we just ignore the Arsenal game, because let's face it, nothing's going to happen there. Yeah, just ignore the Arsenal game. Who have we got after that? I think we've got Bournemouth.
It's two pretty winnable fixtures. Yeah, it's Bournemouth and Southampton, I believe. Yeah, so those are what you judge Cooper by now. I think is Bournemouth and Bournemouth on the 5th and Southampton on the 19th.
Yeah, no, I think it'll be very, very harsh to judge Cooper against Arsenal.
Yeah, it's a write-off. Yeah,
some fans will do. Some fans will do it. They'll be like, "Oh, Cooper didn't do that." It's Arsenal. You know, they're leagues ahead of us. It's not worth doing it. Yeah. But if we get a bad result against Bournemouth and a bad result against Southampton, then we can judge him.
Then it's not just judge him, but then it's like, okay, maybe it's a little bit panic stations, because that would be 7 games in. And if we still don't have a win after 7 games, then that would be pretty bad.
Then we have to start thinking, well, looks like we're going to be getting the championship kit next season.
Yeah, and do you know what? There's something worrying about, like, the idea of going back to the championship, because I have a feeling the way we escaped getting fined the breach from the EFL last time, we were like, oh, you can't charge us because we were a Premier League team. I feel like that's going to come back and haunt us when we go to the championship.
Yeah, I love how you're saying when now. If we go back to the championship, we basically need to avoid the championship forever. Mm-hmm. It's just to not get charged.
They have a vengeance, basically. They have a vengeance against us now. So they have, rightfully so. Like we've been skirting. Basically, it's kind of like like Constantine, kind of like selling your soul to the devil and then basically tricking him into not giving him your soul. Yeah. Like, he's going to come back and try and get you, but you're just putting it off.
If we get relegated, go to the championship at any season, they're like, you're staying here. You're not going anywhere.
They will eat us up. They will rub their hands and be like, minus 20 points. We want you guys down in League One, and you are never coming back up. Yeah.
Hey, at least last time Leicester was in League One, you could literally rock up to the stadium and go in. It was all right back then.
That was such a good season. That
was a great season. Even though it was disappointing to see Leicester in League One, it was a great season.
It was such a great, refreshing season, because that was the first season where I can remember that Leicester were good. Because before that, like, I started following football sort of mid-2000s. So obviously I'd only ever seen Leicester be shit up to 08-09, which is the first season in League One. And that season obviously romped to the title, really fun time, Matt Fryatt and Steve Howard up front. And from that point on, it kind of kicked on. Yeah, well, this is the thing. Like, from that point on, it kind of kicked on, and then momentum built and built and built. But before that, it was miserable. But obviously,
it was horrible. It was horrible being a Leicester fan. I mean, the peak of being a Leicester fan before that was winning the Worthington Cup. Was winning the League Cup,
and that was literally 2000. Like, that's how big a gap there was when it comes to happiness, because we, getting relegated and then up and then relegated again, and but like, I don't remember those seasons. I only remember sort of in the championship, and then like, I don't remember us obviously in the Premier League the first time. So
it's I remember they kept saying it yesterday during the game. They kept saying, will Walsall challenge the 3 times champions of the League Cup, Leicester City? I'm like, calm down. Calm down, mate. We haven't won it since 2000, and even then we weren't great. It's like, just calm down on that one.
Yeah.
We've done more since then.
We've done other things. I'm just trying to think. Do you have any clickmates? Because I don't have any clickmates for this week.
No, I haven't got any clickmates. All I see is like posts saying, like, I saw one clickmates where it said like, Big news: Leicester City bosses are in talks with Steve Cooper.
Yeah, I kept seeing that one as well.
Yeah.
But like from football.com, when you look at it, it's like, why is this site hosted in Nigeria? But
you always know it's a clickbait because when you click on it and then loads of ads pop up.
Yeah.
That's when you know it's a clickbait.
Yeah, because it's usually rage bait. They want to get you angry and involved, just so that you will then engage with it and give them more money, basically. But yeah, I don't have any clickmates for this week. I guess, do we have any other famous segments of the show, or?
I don't think we do. I think we've just literally rambled on about Leicester today.
Yeah, which is fair play. I mean, we did just play 2 games in a week, and both of them were quite disappointing. So, I guess now's a good time to call it then. Well, ladies and gentlemen, everybody who's tuned in, thank you for listening and putting up with Tharun's 10-minute rant at the very beginning about the Leicester versus Walsall game. Appreciate if you don't care about the Leicester or Walsall or the League Cup, then sorry for wasting your time.
Lovely.
But yeah, no. In that case, we'll see you after this weekend fixtures. Again, after the Arsenal game, that'll be a. Oh man, I'm really not looking forward to recording that episode.
I'm really not looking forward to seeing that.
The prospect is just depressing, isn't it?
You never know. Yeah. You never know. We might cause an upset.
I don't know, man. But I really don't. It may be, but it's worse to get your hopes up sometimes.
I know.
But anyway, let's hope we're eating our words on Monday when we release the next one. Maybe Tuesday. Who knows? I don't know when we do these things, but
who knows anymore?
It's okay. Linkin Park aren't playing again next weekend, so you got me all week. But
lovely.
But until then, thank you for joining us. I've been Zane.
I've been Tharun.
And take care.